So hello, I'm James Epolito. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Bend, and I'm here to tell you that not only will you see me here on this video, but when you come into the clinic, I'm the face that you'll see. I'm highly involved. You may see someone in a newspaper advertisement when you go to the clinic. There's all these new faces, but when you come to Bend, you're going to see me specifically. And not only am I there, but I'm a walking representation of what regenerative medicine can do for you. I actually call myself a walking billboard. Back in 2017, I actually had my right knee collapse on me when I was carrying two of my daughters up the stairs, and I realized, oh, it's time for me to actually become my own patient. And one injection in each knee, and next thing you know, I was able to do a pistol squat on both. And so it's life-changing. I've treated my low back, neck, this elbow locked up on me, high school football injury, even a knuckle, thumb. So you'll be speaking to someone who has real experience with how this can change their lives. With little children that I had at the time, I was real frustrated with I couldn't even get down at their level and play the games or do even, play tea time with my girls. And now I'm wrestling with all four of these little ones and having a blast. That being said, when you come into our practice, there's no risk to you to find out what we can do for you. We don't charge a thing for our full comprehensive evaluation. That includes a complete medical assessment, a full orthopedic evaluation. We've got top-notch digital imaging that we can use. Then the team is going to get together and collaboratively determine what is the root cause of your symptoms and what is the game plan going forward and how we can restore and then optimize your body. At that point, we're going to then tell you not only what we believe we can do for you, but we're going to explain why, which rarely happens in medicine. You're usually just told what's the protocol. We're going to tell you what the protocol is and why we've assigned that to you. At that point in time, we're going to also offer a financial consultation to find out how to make this fit in your budget. And if you want to move forward with treatment, a lot of times we can do it while you're there, same day. After that, we don't just discard you and allow you to, allow luck to play its hand in your life. We are going to stay involved with you. Our commitment to you is that we want to see you do well. So we're going to have multiple follow-ups with you. We're always available at our clinic. You're always welcome to just pop in and say hello. It's not what you normally experience at your general practitioner, where you're not allowed to even see the doctor if you don't have an appointment. When you come to our place, we're glad you showed up.
So I meet you on the phone and you're like, I'm a guy running a clinic for 7 years. Why were you running a clinic for 7 years? What was that about? What got you into that whole regenerative medicine thing that nobody knows about? What is that?
Oh yeah, actually a personal experience. I went to put my key in a car door and fell to the ground. Didn't have the slightest clue of what happened.
Wow.
And it went through the typical medical model where they pumped me full of morphine and took x-rays and then sent me to the spinal specialist. And very first words out of his mouth is I needed spinal fusion at 32 years old. And I said, whoa, doctor, is there like physical therapy that can be done, pain management? Could I get in better shape, anything? And long story short, he used the fear tactics of, well, if you don't do this, it's bad enough where you're going to need to use a cane to get around in the next year. And do you want your friends to see you like that?
At 32.
32 years old. 32 years old. And he didn't understand that I actually grew up seeing 4 failed back surgeries on my sister. They fused L1 through L4. She developed problems at L5S1, and they fused that. Then problems at T11, 12, L1, fused that. Then directly above T11 at T9 and 10, they fused that, and now she's addicted to pain medication.
Oh, Lord.
And in pain every day. So I wasn't a big fan of getting sliced open and have titanium rods and screws going into my vertebral bodies at the time. So when he used that tactic, it actually angered me. I got a little bit mad, and I began to seek natural approaches. And this was before regenerative medicine was actually around. But I found an integrated medical practice that used all kinds of natural remedies, and I took it upon myself to fix my cellular health. Lost 40 pounds, which was part of it.
Wow.
All upper body weight, and just went after it. And in 6 months, he was right. I wasn't walking around without assistance. I was running, and I learned how to wakeboard that year. And I was playing tennis again and basketball. Amazing. And just going to town.
Incredible.
that fueled me, and I always wanted to serve in that field of medicine because it helped me. And I didn't have a medical degree, so I went to the clinic owner and I said, listen, I don't have a medical degree. I was coloring in anatomy books when other kids were coloring in their Disney books. You fixed my life. You prevented me from going down a road that I watched my own sister go through, and it was terrifying. Any way that you'd put me to work, even pro bono if I need to. It's like, I'll do it for free, whatever. And he put me to work, and I loved it. Well, fast forward to 2015, I had moved down to Florida since then and started doing other things. And my best buddy from Atlanta moves 45 minutes away to run a regenerative medicine practice. And I'm like, God, the odds of this are out of this world. And he loves it there. The doctor's great. And a year and a half goes by, and he calls me up and says, man, I know you love medicine, and the love of my life just walked back in the door, and she can't move from Atlanta. I've got to go back home. I can't think of anyone better to fill my place than you. And I said, wow. All right, what do I need to do? And I met the doctor, and we hit it off, and I got in and I made it a mission to know more about this than anyone else around me. I wanted to know more than the doctors. I wanted to know as much as the scientists, and I dug into the New England Journal of Medicine, PubMed, ResearchGate, clinicaltrials.gov, and I read and read and read to the point that I was overwhelmed. What did I get myself into? This is confusing. And then it just hit. And I was like, I got it now. So that's where I would say that's kind of my motivating factor was number one.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yep.
Yeah, on a mission.
On a mission. And then it went beyond that. I started to see, I was always good in my earlier years at going into a business and seeing where the holes were, seeing where the failures were, and looking outside of the box. And first thing I noticed in this clinic is there was a patient-doctor barrier. There's a barrier.
Me about that.
You know, anytime you go to the clinic, as soon as you touch the door handle, your blood pressure goes up. You walk into an unwelcoming environment. You're early and then they're late. It's not very pleasant. And the doctors don't give you much time. They feel inconvenienced that you're asking them any questions. And I decided I wanted to disrupt that entire process. I want people to walk in the door and feel relieved. I want them to feel like they're in a place that's there, that cares about them, who loves doing what they're doing, is not inconvenienced, that will spend the time to listen and figure out a plan of care that gets them functioning normally again. And so that was my second motivating factor in getting into regenerative medicine.
Wow. How many years were you running that clinic?
7.
7 years.
7 years.
What was it like?
It was spectacular. I don't know I don't even know if that word is powerful enough to describe it, but to see someone come in with no hope, deflated, it's in their face, it's in how they walk, they're defeated. You know, they've been told we got to, remove organic joints out of their body they had for 70 years and put inorganic material in there. And they've heard the horror stories, they've heard about the revisions, they've heard about the potential for infection and the potential for pain to return. They're scared to death. And then to see within a short amount of time that they're coming into the practice, high-fiving us and smiling again, or someone that's been bedridden for a year dancing.
Wow.
Yep, absolutely.
What's your favorite story from that time?
It would have to be what I just mentioned. This one sweet lady, oh my gosh, she was so precious. She was bedridden for a full year, had spinal surgery, L4 through S1, and the pain returned within months, and she went back to the doctor and asked him to do more surgery. Like, I need help me more. And he said, you're too fragile at this point, you gotta wait. And she heard about us and heard about some of the things we were doing and called us and asked, could she come in for an evaluation? We welcomed her in, of course. And what we saw was that we could help her. We saw that the problem was not where the doctor had fused, but it was coming from a different part of the spine, which usually happens. You start locking the natural articulation of the spine, you start placing more pressure on joints above and below. And so we told her what we think we can do. And she said, I'm willing to try whatever. And we treated her. And I'll tell you, one thing that was pretty phenomenal is her husband travels back and forth to Peru, and he was in Peru at the time. And this few months after treatment, her daughter comes by to see her and expects her dad to answer the door because her mom couldn't get out of bed. And her mom answered the door. What are you doing, Mom? She's like, I went to the clinic that I told you about and had treatment. I'm good. It was amazing. She would show up at events that we're hosting. Just if she knew we were there, she wouldn't even ask. She'd just show up. She'd grab the microphone and tell her testimony to the group, and she'd dance in front of them.
How long did it take her to get treated?
Oh, to get treated?
Yeah.
Oh, we treated her same day. She came in and got evaluated. We always make sure that we feel we can help someone. We don't want them doing treatment if it doesn't make sense. And it looked like it made sense, and she was ready. She got treatment, and in a short amount of time, I'd say within 6 to 8 weeks, she was noticing better range of motion, decreased pain, better sleep, being able to get out of her bed on her own for the first time, and actually sent her husband to Peru, said, go ahead, you don't have to take care of me. So wow. that ranks up there with one of my favorites. Wow. I have other favorites, but that's one of my
Give me another favorite.
Another one's great. I have this gentleman in his mid-90s, and what we do defies logic a lot of times. You're going to think, someone in their 90s, there's nothing that can be done, they can't heal. It's not true. This gentleman's in his mid-90s, had severely degenerative knees. One was much worse than the other. I think it was his right knee. Left knee was still pretty bad, but looked good because this one was so bad. Yeah. That kind of scenario. And his orthopedic doctor says, I can't help you. I could give you some pain medications, but you're too old. I can't do surgery. And he said, I haven't taken a pain medication in my entire life. He found out about us, came in, we looked, we said, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad, but at this stage of the game, it's worth a try. And we believe that this can give you a better quality of life. It's not gonna have you downhill skiing again, but maybe you get out of the car without assistance. Maybe you don't have your cane, maybe this or that. And he said, let's go. He treated both knees, and about 4 months went by. And he just popped in the clinic one day. He traveled from an hour and a half away, no appointment, just popped in. And he comes into me and he says, hey, James, you mind if I get some images on my knees? And I'm instantly like, did you fall? Did you get hurt? What happened? That's my first instinct. Is, sure. What do I need to do to help you? And he says, and it's funny, he was a funny guy. He said, James, you're not very observant, are you, son? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, buddy, I didn't even bring my cane with me, buddy. I just want to see, I want to see it. And we pulled images and we saw noticeable increased joint space in both knees. He was smiling ear to ear. He's cracking up because I didn't even notice.
A 90-year-old guy.
90.
With no hope.
No hope.
And just a possibility that you can help him and you think it's worth a shot.
That's right.
And it changes his life in 4 months.
Drastically. Drastically. He's walking around the villages, which is a beautiful community. They've got these beautiful tree-lined streets with Spanish moss hanging. There's all, you know, he's socializing again with his friends. He's getting out of the car without someone having to tug him out and hand him a cane to get around. It's a different world for him now.
So what's it like for you now to be in the villages?
Dream come true. It's
why?
Been serving that community from over an hour and a half away for those 7 years. And about 6 years ago, one of the patients from there said, you should put an office over here or over in the villages because that's where we all are. And it's a long drive over here, and some of us might get lost, and there's red lights. They had all these reasons, and I was all in. Like, yeah, that sounds great. But the owner of the practice I worked for wasn't in a stage of life looking to expand. He'd been in the same location 30 years. Yeah. And he considered it for a while. We actually looked for properties, and I was all gung-ho, and he just nixed it. And then that's where, that's where you and I met. And here we are. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's beyond my dream come true. It's such a great service to the community that we're within, 2 to 3 minutes of some of these people now. And we're right there, integrated.
Remarkable.
In the
and a community of the most vibrant people.
Absolutely.
They want to enjoy and squeeze every moment of life out of life.
Yes.
I've never seen that many people with that kind of mindset in one place.
Yeah.
Remarkable people.
It's everything about that community is remarkable. There's everything that you would want to do in those years. There's so many activities. There's so many clubs. There's socializing type clubs. There's athletics. And I've yet to meet someone there that I don't care for. They're all just wonderful people. They're fun, they're happy. Even the ones that have pain, they still have a great outlook and they're hopeful.
So I'm a person from the villages, and I'm walking in to Bend for the first time. What kind of experience do you want me to have? What do you want me to see? What do you want that experience to be like?
Oh yeah, a complete 180 from what you expect going into a medical clinic. You're gonna walk in, everyone knows you're coming. They don't have to ask who you are. You're not greeted by someone with a frown. You've got somebody that says, "Hey, I'm so glad you're here. By the way, would you like a refreshment before we get started? We're ready for you. We've talked about you before you got here. We know what to expect. Notice that you need a little help on one of the intake forms, so we're going to give that to you. And if you have any problems, let us know. We're here for you." And you're not going to feel like you're inconveniencing anybody. You're going to feel like we're glad you're there. So excited that we have a chance to serve you. And you're going to really feel like it's a family member that's taking care of you instead of that. It's that barrier. You can feel it anywhere. You can go to a pediatrician, you can go to a general practitioner, you can go to an orthopedic, go to a cardiovascular surgeon. There's a barrier. You're not going to feel that barrier, and it takes them off guard a lot of times. They walk in and they don't understand. They're expecting to be placed in a very high-pressured, get these forms done, give me your your ID and your insurance, and why are you 3 minutes late? And then
Right.
you're sitting in a lobby for 45 minutes for them to be on time. So you finally get in, and you spend a little bit of time, and they quickly tell you what's wrong, and they need to refer you out to go get images. So here's the contact information for the imaging center. 2 to 3 week wait usually. So you spent all that time, you've done a copay. Now you're traveling, and you have to first figure out when you can get into the next place to even get diagnostics. So you go through that same process when you get to that facility, and time and travel, fuel, all these things start to add up. Now you have to wait for those images to get back to the facility that first greeted you, and they call you back in, and they start to go over these things with you that they've discovered, and they may even send you out to another type of specialist, or they have something that they can do for you. It may have a 50-50 chance of bettering your life or not, and the amount of education they give you is very limited. They just tell you what's wrong and what they're going to do to fix it, and don't really tell you any of the science behind what they're doing and how it could really help and why and what's the downfalls and what's the pros or the cons. And so it's very frustrating. A lot of the communities have a system where you go in, and next thing you know, you're at one specialist, and that specialist can't help you, so he sends you to another, and you end up in kind of a carousel situation where you're just going around and around and you feel lost. That's different from where we are.
So how are we going to do it better?
We have team meetings prior to the patients coming in for the day to know who's coming, what's their chief complaints, what's their history, what have they gone through. That whole system that I just described, most of the time, that's what we experience. They've already been through all that. We know what's going on. What kind of surgeries have they had that gave them some temporary relief and then the pain returns? What caused the injury? What's the magnitude of it before they even walk in the door? They walk in the door, we're already prepared for them. We're smiling. We're excited to see them. And the first thing we're doing is asking them, "Hey, would you like a refreshment before we get started?" It takes them off guard. They're expecting somebody who's not real thrilled that they're there interrupting their day. They're expecting to wait 30 to 45 minutes to even be seen. And one thing that I made it very clear to every team member is as soon as that patient walks through the door, the stopwatch starts for all of us. I immediately go to the medical provider, let them know who's here, it's who we talked about. I regurgitate the case, let them know what we're going to do and about where we are in the process so that the provider's ready and knows what's going on. Find the medical assistants, find the x-ray tech, make sure everybody's on par. Everybody knows that, hey, this patient's not going to be waiting for a long time. We're going to see them expeditiously. We're going to let them know their time's valuable, they're valuable, that they matter. And they start to feel that, because if we do fall behind, which can happen if we're super busy and medicine isn't perfect, we go out there and we let them know, hey, we haven't forgotten about you. We know you're here. We got another 3 minutes. We get that precise. We got another 3 minutes till we're going to see you. Is there anything that I can do for you right now? And they usually strike up a conversation because they're blown away. They can't believe you're even doing that. So next thing you know, their mind is off the time and they're talking to you about, something doesn't even pertain to medicine. And we'll spend that time having a conversation. So they forget they're in a medical facility.
Do they have to talk about the fragmentation of care? In the Bend Clinic, is it the usual thing where they got to make another appointment and another appointment and another appointment, and maybe it's a month or two before their problem is even addressed? Can you talk about that a little
Yeah, I'm
bit?
glad you brought that up. Actually, yeah, the fragmentation's not there. When a patient comes in to see us, they get a full evaluation, including on-site diagnostics. We have digital imaging that most facilities don't have. We made that investment for the community. We don't want people running all over town, getting their life disrupted. So they come in, we're able to do images right there and then. We can then look at those images and determine what's the root cause of the problem. And what is the game plan? Is this patient someone we can help? And if it is, what are we going to do? What are the tools that we have, which we have many? What are the tools that we have that's going to pertain to this specific person? Going back to the traditional medical model, it's like a one-size-fits-all. It really depends on the kind of insurance they have and what insurance has determined is the right thing for them. Where in our model, it's really patient-specific. It's patient-focused and not profit-focused. It is really based on what exactly is wrong with this specific person and what can we do to help them.
In some regenerative medicine clinics, you may have seen, there's a tendency to treat everybody the same.
Yes.
Everybody's going to get exosomes. Everybody's going to get PRP. Everybody's going to get whatever they have for sale on the shelf.
Yes.
What's your thought about that in the regenerative medicine space? How can it be done better?
I think that's a failure in the space. I think that's just one step outside of the traditional model that I just explained. And there's a lot of tools available, and where one thing could help someone, it may not be needed for the next person. The magnitude of injury really matters a lot. And so one thing we do is we have all those different things that we can offer. But also, each thing you just mentioned, there can be a higher dosage than the patient before. So we look at what's the severity of the injury, what's the size of the joint that we're looking at, and we customize the protocols to that specific condition and person.
Kind of like one size fits none.
One size fits none is,
Right,
yeah, that's absolutely right. And
So this is a little bit different. It's instead of regenerative medicine, this is really customized, personalized regenerative medicine.
yes, yeah, I like to think of it as full optimization of the patient,
Yeah.
and customized to that person. I fully agree with that.
Your favorite customer, if you had to describe your favorite customer, what's that look like?
I like a challenge. I like one who's been through the system and is hopeless. And the reason being is because it brings a lot of warmth to us to see the transition in their life. If we have an athlete that comes in, we still love helping them. They're robust. They might be in there prophylactically. They know they're causing damage to their joints and they just want to optimize. They might not notice much difference in their life because they're already crushing it. But you get that patient who's really defeated and you give them hope. And as soon as you tell them we're hopeful, you see an energy change in them. And we don't just treat a patient and forget about them. We stay involved in their life. And I tell everybody, I say, we're going to be as involved in your life as you're going to allow us to be, because we want to see you do well, not just now, but in the future. And so we get to know them and we cultivate an actual relationship with them. And so I love that patient because when they have such a radical transformation of their lifestyle, they come in and it's like you've seen a different human being. They're glowing. And then they can't help but to tell you all the ways that they're enjoying their life now. I've had patients actually come in and as, I guess, a tip, we don't accept tips, but as a tip, actually crocheted blankets for my 4 kids. All of them, their favorite colors, because I didn't know why she asked, but during her treatment, she said, what's your children's favorite colors? And I gave it, and she came in with 4 blankets, all crocheted. So it's just a different world.
Super sweet.
Yeah, that's my ideal patient. I love a challenge, and I love someone who feels like there's no hope suddenly realize that there is.
Just take me back inside the experience. I'm a patient and I want to know how much time I've got to block off for the diagnosis, the prescription, the treatment. How long am I there? From like all day, 8 hours? How long could I expect?
No, absolutely not. We're very efficient at what we do. Going back to getting rid of that stressful environment, we want it to be not only comfortable but efficient. Time's valuable. Everyone's time's valuable. So we're extremely quick. If it's if it's not a very complicated case, there's times we can do everything within an hour.
Wow.
Everything from start to finish. That is full evaluation, medical assessment, orthopedic evaluation, diagnostic imaging.
So if you have your favorite patient that you just described, who's a challenge because they're hopeless and they've been around the neighborhood in the medical world, they come in, they can get diagnosed, you can have the client education experience with them and treat them, and they can have their lives changed within an hour.
Within an hour. There's nothing in the traditional medical model that can do that.
No.
Not even close.
No.
It's usually months.
It's so fragmented currently as a client, as a patient, to go in to have the consult, to have the diagnostics and wait for that, to come back, get the client education about the options, to feel frustrated that the options seem so limited, and then to be left on my own to have to explore options that no physician told me about.
Right.
That's a little bit like your experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, to that surgeon, the only thing that would work for me is the one tool he had available.
Yeah.
He didn't take the time to consider that he's looking at a 32-year-old man that's defeated and hopeless, and he didn't even pick up a telephone and maybe call one of his colleagues and see if it was a case that could avoid surgical intervention.
What other kind? I mean, we're talking a lot about musculoskeletal issues and injuries and improving function and comfort level. What other things are people coming to regenerative medicine for, especially in my age group, older than 60, for example? What do people want, and what would you like them to know? Because most of us, we're not aware of
Right.
regenerative medicine.
Oh, absolutely.
What can it help? What does it do?
There's a lot. I look at I know I keep saying the word optimization, but full body optimization starting at the cellular level. Most everyone in this country and maybe globally has a hormonal deficiency, which is the foundation to good health and vitality. So, we have expertise in optimizing hormones. That allows us to get muscular strength, which is some of the supportive tissues to our joints.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting that a lot of times joint failure comes from weakened muscles and ligaments and tendons. So we can strengthen the body there, and it helps with cognitive function, cardiovascular health, a lot of incredible benefits from that. We have peptide therapies, which are natural small chain amino acids that can stimulate the body to do all kinds of biological healing mechanisms and metabolic resets. We have peptides that can even help people who are fair skinned tan without even going out into the sun. Prevents burning. It's pretty amazing what can be done. We have peptides that can actually stimulate fibroblastic repair, which is like rotator cuffs and torn ACLs. That works well in conjunction with regenerative cellular therapies. Aesthetics. As we age, we develop wrinkles. Our ability to repair on our own starts to diminish regardless of how well we eat and how well we take care of ourselves. It's just the aging cycle. But we're able to actually stimulate a healing cascade in the face, in the hair. We can actually stimulate hair follicle growth through regenerative medicine. Sexual wellness is something that's not spoken about when you go to a general practitioner. They usually don't ask you, how are things going down there?
They usually just give you a pill or something.
A pill, medication that could
Right.
have some cardiovascular side effects or headaches, and eventually the ability to help you diminishes. We have the ability to actually repair the sexual organs of men or women, and women who have urinary incontinence benefit greatly from these therapies. which, you've had one child or two, or you've reached a certain age bracket, nearly everybody has that. And that's a great thing to be able to remove from somebody's life. We do that, and it's just, I don't know that there's a limit. There's not really a limit. If we can look at what is the failing part of the body, do we have a tool that can address it?
Yeah.
And we have quite a few tools.
Yeah. Big medicine cabinet.
Big medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
let's talk about this just a little bit. Let's talk about the money.
Yeah.
The current healthcare system is, I've got a copay and deductible requirement every year. And so I'm expecting to pay that. And I'm looking at cash businesses as, well, that's costing me, but traditional medicine doesn't cost me because I have Medicare Part D, or I've got Medicare coverage, or what have you. Can you address that perception a little bit that insurance-based healthcare is free, but cash-based, wellness-based healthcare costs money? Can you address that a little bit for us?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When you first look at it, it does seem like exactly what you said, that, it's costing me more. But where the failure lies there is that they don't realize that's a lot of times one treatment and you're done. You're not going back and forth and by the time you finish the cycle in the traditional model and don't receive those optimal outcomes of functioning normally again, you've racked up the same amount in copays, travel, time, scheduling, frustration. You're sometimes spending the same amount, if not more, over a longer period of time, and your outcome isn't the same.
So it really has to do with what you're looking at as a patient.
Yes.
Yeah. Where is the spend?
That's right.
So because when I'm going to 4 appointments for one issue, I've got 4 days interrupted. I've got 4 copay deductible experiences. I've got a limited set of solutions that are being presented to me.
Oh yeah. Then you also have to look at the post-care that happens. When someone gets a full joint replacement or even a partial joint replacement, it doesn't end there. Next thing you know, they're now getting referred to the pain management clinic. This is what I think of it as, there's a pharmaceutical carousel people get on too. So they start taking these pain medications that work, and they're on this carousel, spin around nice and fast, and everything's good. And when that medication wears off, it's time to get off that carousel until you take the next pill. That's their life now. So they go through pain management, they gotta go through rehab. Some of them have to outfit their homes a certain way to accommodate their new recovery, because
It's interesting to hear you talk about this because, the older I get and the more experience I have with wellness care as opposed to insurance-based care, which seems to be more acute care focused or sick care focused.
Yes.
It seems that that the wellness care is really focused on root cause solution.
Yes.
Have you drawn that distinction
Absolutely.
in your experiences and your patients' experiences between the usual insurance-based platform and the wellness cash-based platforms?
Yes, it's a polar opposite. When you go to that traditional model, it is all based on your symptoms. What's your symptoms? What's your weight? That's going to determine how much of this drug we're going to prescribe, that we've prescribed to the past 100 people that had the same condition.
Yeah.
But when you go into a wellness model like ours, regenerative medicine, we're looking for what's root cause. The symptom matters, but sometimes you may have left knee pain and it could be coming from the lumbar spine.
That's interesting, because if I was presenting with left knee pain and I go to an orthopedist's office, the orthopedist is going to be approved to care for that knee.
Yes.
But the orthopedist is probably going to send me to a foot and ankle surgeon for my ankle problem that might be originating the pain.
Correct.
That's interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's that fragmentation.
It's
you're
fragmented.
talking about.
It's inconvenient and it's fragmented and it's not as effective. If we can take care of the root cause of the problem, there's no symptoms.
There's that old adage, to a hammer, everything's a nail.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just that the toolkit that Bend has is just massively complicated, intricate, and very customizable.
Very customizable. And beyond that, it's very effective. It's like having the best tools a contractor that comes in with the highest quality tools. He's not coming in there with things he bought at the dollar store.
Yeah.
These tools are powerful, they're effective, and they work.
How is the Villages so special for what you do?
Well, number one, it's an incredible community. I remember the very first time I traveled there to give a educational seminar, which is something that we do regularly to teach people about regenerative medicine. We believe education's important. But I can remember when I drove through, I don't remember which road, but there were two signs on the side that said, "Welcome to the Villages," and I felt like I entered a bubble. They actually have a documentary for the Villages called The Bubble, and it was just a different feeling. And then when I met the first person there, I felt they were different. They were just not the common person. They were vivacious. They were full of life and stories, and they love to talk with you, and they believe in communication. A lot of times in the outside world, everybody is so against communication. And in the Villages, they all want to communicate. They want that relationship. They want to be able to get to know you, and you get to know them. And it's an extremely active community. There's so many golf courses that you can't even count them. There's unlimited pickleball courses. There's thousands of social clubs. You name it, if there's something you want, it's there. It's neat too. There's golf cart paths everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's people driving to the store in a golf cart. And, it's that these people have all moved there because they're looking to be active in their later years. They've worked hard their whole life, and now they want to enjoy the fruits of their labor.
There's a great wisdom embedded in a community like that values physical vibrance.
Yes.
One of the things that's very inspiring to me in my life is my mother and father. They're 89 and 90. My pop has just turned 90. And at a time when he has more free time than he ever thought he would have, he can't enjoy it.
Right.
Because his body doesn't work and he's in pain a lot.
Yep.
And it hurts me, and it inspires me to want to be part of what you're doing, and it inspires me to stay active and to take good care of myself, because one of the things that I've seen in life is, and not just with my dad, but with people as we age across the board, we tend to have more money and more time than we ever figured we would.
Yeah.
And if our bodies don't work, we didn't get the dividends that we invested in.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that I see out there in the Villages. When someone decides they're going to move to the Villages, it's for the dream. They see, wow, super active community of a lot of people like me. There's all these activities. I'm going to be in these social clubs. And then when their body fails, it's like their dreams were just squashed.
Yeah.
And so, the fact that we can sit there and restore the dream and maybe even improve it for them, you can't put that into words.
Yeah.
It causes, when we go into our clinic, not one employee feels like they're at work. It's not a job. It's a ministry. We're going in there and we're serving the community. And our reward is the fact that people's lives are changing in such a dramatic way, and it's for the better, so that they can have a quality of life that they've dreamed about. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Wow.
A little bit about, I got to find out a little bit about just your background. Where the hell are you from?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Where am I from? Well, I was born in upstate New York in Syracuse. My parents hijacked me and moved me down to the South when I was 4 years old, so I don't really know anything about cold. And so it's always been nice for me. We moved to Atlanta, Georgia when I entered 6th grade, and that's where I grew up. Probably heard of that small town in North Georgia. It's a pretty hectic place. I lived there before there was traffic. Literally, you could take a Sunday drive and see 2 or 3 cars, and that's it.
Oh, wow.
Now it's you don't leave your house and not see cars. You can't sometimes get out of your own driveway. But I grew up there. I made my way to Florida in 2010, and it was always, when I was younger, I always wanted to live in Florida. So when I finally had the means and the freedom to do so, I decided let's go ahead and do it. And I moved to Florida and learned how to sail by buying a sailboat, having not ever stepped foot on a sailboat. So I just bought one and said, well, I better figure out how to use it. Learned how to sail. I love fishing. And I built a family down here. So I've got, before I do all this regenerative medicine stuff, number one, I'm a loyal husband and a really fun dad of 4 little people.
You have a cool family.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your family, because we met your wife and she just lights up her room. She's a cool lady.
Oh yeah.
Tell us a little bit.
Oh yeah, she's a personal trainer. So
Wow.
She crushes me anytime I decide to go through a workout with her. So I just gotta stick to my own routine. Besides that, we've got 4 precious children, 3 girls in a row, 8, 7, 5, and 3.
Wow.
The 3-year-old is a boy. We built a boy, so we actually did it. And so it's an exact mirror image of my family. I have 3 older sisters. Yep, I'm the baby boy.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Yep, and I'm a surprise.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. I believe some things I love doing is cooking. I love art. I'm a musician by hobby, not by skill. I just like to play instruments. And I just love being with people. I'm a people person. I love being out and about and getting to where I can build relationships. So that's James. Just James.